Hey guys, so today I wanted to take a look at units that I think could potentially be seeing a future sort of domain Dokkan field effect that we have seen in the worldwide download celebration for 2023. Now, if you guys, just in case anybody's been living under a rock, Tech LR Zamasu, the Fusion Zamasu, name controversy included, has a mechanic where he becomes omnipotent and ultimately becomes infinite Zamasu. And the kind of code word that we are using for this is the domain effect, right? Now, what he does is he debuffs superclass enemies and superclass allies at the same time. So, I think it would be a good idea to take a look at some characters that I think could be implemented in the game that have their own version of the domain. And I think, starting off with the unit that you are looking at on the screen right now, that being a version of Hit. Now, whether or not this needs to be an LR, a TUR, something like that, that's kind of up to the question. But I think what this should be is like sort of the time skip domain, right? Like you think about something like with the way that Legends does it, where they have the Ultra Hit, and with his green card, when his unique gauge is full, you get to go into a time skip where the enemy is unable to do anything. So I think the best way to do it would be something along the lines of like maybe superclass enemies and allies have their actions broken in this domain, and Hit just essentially gets to do free damage, but it's only Hit, right? Like the rest of the team can't do damage, but the enemy also can't hit you either when you're in the domain, right? So I think that could be a potential way to do it. So maybe if you would want to run him like around like an extreme class team, or maybe they introduce some new type of category that Hit leads and you can kind of fit that on with like extreme class units and stuff like that. I think that could potentially be a way to make this work. But just coming in at number 1, I think that would be kind of like one of the units that I would want the most. So starting off our list, I have a Hit with a time skip domain. Let's move on to the second unit I think we should get a domain for. Okay, so coming in at the number 2 spot, this and his counterpart should be fairly obvious, but I have Super Saiyan Gogeta, and then also you'll know the counterpart in a minute, but the domain for this one would be pretty simple. It would be the domain kind of shatter or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe not even the domain, but the dimension break, excuse me. I've been reading too much Jujutsu Kaisen, but the dimension shatter that we see, Legends is kind of an infamous summon animation and stuff like that now, but what I would like to see is for this Gogeta and his opponent to have sort of this one with like reverse effects, right? So maybe with this one, it's extreme class enemies and allies take more damage, and then vice versa for the other one. Just because it seems like the theme they are going with for these dimension, I was right. So I mean, for the domain effect, right? I was right. The domain effect is that somebody gets debuffed on your team while the enemy gets debuffed, right? It's not just like you get a permanent support for everybody. It's like you also get a little bit of a debuff as well. So I think that a dimension shatter for Gogeta and a Broly would be good. I mean, obviously I can name drop it, right? Because maybe we have like a thing where after you get out of the domain expansion, after you get out of the domain, we go into Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta and stuff like that, right? And I'm just using the old units as examples. So, we do need a standalone Blue Gogeta, but I also think if you want to do a transforming Gogeta as well, again, this is one way you could do it with the domain, the battlefield effect. So let's move on to his counterpart. I guess we can just kind of do that while we're here. We don't even really need to cut for this one, but like it should be, like I said, it should be fairly obvious. We have this Broly right here. We have Super Saiyan Broly that maybe when we get out of the domain, we go into full power Broly and stuff like that. But honestly, I think over having domains for these guys, I would rather just have them transform or just be standalone units anyway. But, if you do want to go with the typical Dokkan tomfoolery where we have to, limit the units or, make them transform because standalone is like taboo for some reason, this could be a way to do it. So I think Broly and Gogeta could be really two good ones. And this one would be for superclass enemies and allies would be debuffed. So hopefully in the future, we get content that isn't just extreme class that's hard to beat, but we also get stuff that's for superclass as well. So Gogeta and Broly would be my number 2 and number 3 spot. Let's go ahead and move on to number 4. Okay, so coming in at number 4, I have a Buuhan. Now, standalone Buuhan is something the game has been needing for a bit. Obviously, we have our own iterations of this, but I think it's time for an updated version of this to kind of help out the Majin Power team, to help out some other teams, Majin Power, Power Absorption, and stuff like that. But I think the domain for this one, which would be perfect, would be the inside Buu type of thing, where, pure Saiyans maybe get debuffed, or superclass enemies and allies get debuffed, take more damage perhaps. But I think that this one, like with Inside Buu, would be perfect because, we've had, there's a significant amount of time that Goku and Vegeta spend like stuck within Buu trying to free everybody, and that's obviously the reason that Vegito doesn't just end the Majin Buu saga then and there, is that he knows he's going to take out, Gohan, Piccolo, Goten, Trunks, Chi-Chi, Bulma, Videl, 18, Krillin, etc., because they are all part of Buu at this point by the time Vegito is fighting Majin Buu at this point. Like, the only people left are, like, Mr. Satan, Dende, who else is alive? Bubbles the dog, I think his name. What's the name of Boo's dog? Is it Bubbles? It's not Bubbles. That's the monkey. B is the name of the dog. Stuff like that. There's just not many people left on Earth at this point. Obviously I'm missing a couple, but basically everybody on Earth is a part of Buu at this point. And I think this would be a super easy way to do a domain, just because, we could have... it would just be simple, right? Like, it's just like the criteria to me for a domain is just like, we have the environment changes, we go within something. So it's like with the time skip, we go within the hits little, like, domain, for lack of a better term. We go into hits realm where it's a time skip and it's all like shattery and stuff like that. For the dimension shatter, it's, we go into the place where Gogeta and Broly fight during the movie. And with Buuhan, it would be pretty simple. And maybe once we get out of the domain, Buu becomes like Super Buu, standalone or something like that, or he turns into Kid Buu. And then you just have like a lot of potential with a specific unit like this, and you could just think about how beneficial that could be for a team like that, because like if he debuffs like super class enemies and allies, it's like you're not running Buuhan on a super class team anyway, so like this could work out perfectly for somebody like that, because you'd be wanting to be running him with Kid Boos, with Fat Boos and stuff like that. And I think it's just like a standalone Buuhan at this point. An update for this guy is something that we need, because especially considering now that we have like LR Super Buu, Dokkan Fest Kid Buu, who's a little bit away from an EZA, because he came out at the beginning of 2022, so maybe 2 to 3 more years now, maybe a year or two down the line, we'll be seeing his EZA and stuff like that. So we'll see. Obviously a LR Buuhan is not on the list right now in terms of stuff that is likely coming up. So I think this domain would be perfectly acceptable to do for Inside Buu, and that's one that people have talked about a lot. So with that being said, let's move on to the fifth and final one iteration for this video. Okay, so this one might come as a little bit of a surprise to you, but this one I have on the list is STR Whis, but not even STR Whis, but a Whis with his kind of like staff being a domain, right? So if you guys don't know, the way that Goku and Vegeta unlock Super Saiyan Blue is via Whis' staff, if I'm not mistaken. So what they do is they kind of get like a taste of like God Ki and stuff like that without the ritual when they like clash together. And, sorry, they clash together, and, like the area kind of goes to like this rainbow thing. I know if you guys have played Xenoverse, then you know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of like this, it's almost like a fantasy land, right? Where it's just like, it's a void, but it's also, like, it's just kind of like colorful, right? And now that I'm thinking about it, there's also one more I want to talk about it, so this will not be the final entry, but I think that maybe one of these that's like just a buff for Realm of Gods category enemies, or allies, excuse me, would be good, just because this would kind of give some like versatility and some utility to a Whis and stuff like that. And I think that Whis, all in all, just deserves a little bit more respect than he has, because when you think about it, he's the strongest character in the series up until we reach like, the level of when we see Zeno and the Grand Priest, right? Because like for a good majority of Super, Whis is like the, the top of the top, right? Because he's like, he's stronger than Beerus, and he's, Beerus's teacher and stuff like that, or a servant or attendant, whatever, right? But we know that he is more powerful than Beerus, despite the physique and stuff like that. But we do know that angels are above the gods of destruction. So this guy is like the strongest character in the series all the way up until like halfway through Super. So I think that he deserves kind of like a top tier unit, just because the angels in general are just super cool and stuff like that. So we should be this, one of my picks, but let's move on to the last pick that I forgot about until I was recording this one. So let's move on to the last one of the video. Okay, so Toppo. This one would be super easy. We would just have the Tournament of Power kind of colorless guy. So like, if you guys don't know, in the Tournament of Power, after Toppo unlocks his God of Destruction powers and throws away his pride or whatever, akin to what Vegeta would not do, the sky goes from like this kind of like darkish, like black, gray, kind of like cloudy area to like this like pretty, red, blue, purple, space, starry type of vibe. And that's kind of what I would do here with Toppo, right? Where like maybe we do like Universe 11 allies get like super buffed, or Universal Survival Saga enemies get super buffed and stuff like that. And like pure Saiyan category enemies and allies get like a massive debuff, for Universe 7 category enemies and allies get like, that would be like super niche, but that would be like something you could do, just because like this God of Destruction Toppo puts in that work on Frieza, right? Like just absolutely like tears him up, and then fights Vegeta and stuff like that. Like this Toppo could be a super cool unit. So Don't want to talk too long about this, but again, I think that could be some potential domain options within the game. Let me know down below what you guys think of these specific ones and any other ones that I'm missing. Obviously, there's way too many for me to go over all in one video, but again, if you did agree with this list or you think that there's any other ones that you should do, leave a comment down below. Leave a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you are new. And that's basically all I got for you. I'll catch you guys next time.